Hi guys and girls, welcome to the Story Department. I'm Karel Seegers. Today you get an addendum, a bonus or an appendix to the list of books that I've given you in the past few videos. I'm going to answer the question from one of our viewers who asked me in which order he should read these books. Now, first of all, it was a very long list, and I'm going to make a small selection. Say you're new to screenwriting, what do I consider a good entry into the craft, and which books can support you for that. But before we do that, I want to stick to our tradition of looking at a few log lines. And actually, I'm trying to... Yeah, you know who I am, so I can remove my name now. So let's go to the website logline.it. And the logline we're going to look at is this. As his best friend, an alcoholic old Hollywood star begs for death, a young reporter sees his own fate and takes a dramatic step to rewrite the story of his life. We're looking for three elements, as you know. Character, event, and action. Why? Because every story is about those three elements. Every story is about something happening to a character and then that character having to respond to it. It's like life. Every day things happen to you. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes important, not so important. In film, we want them to be important, these events. But then if they are significant events, we need to respond to them, and the character needs to respond to them. So that's our action part. So character, event, and action. The character part here would be the young reporter. Now, it's fairly vague because all we know is a male, and he's young, and he's a reporter. In terms of character, we don't know much, unless maybe if we understand that sees his own fate means that he sees his own character in the image of his friend, so he may go down the same path. Then maybe our young reporter has these issues, has issues of addiction, and maybe lacks the will of life. Now, I'll leave that open for now. In any case, we've got our character with a potential character journey. Now let's look at what's the event. So the best friend begs for death. And then the reporter sees his own fate. You can say that's kind of related. That's a realization. That realization will then lead to action. But now begs for death, I don't know whether I need to take that literal. You could say has become suicidal, or tells him he wants to die. So then we know that's quite literal. Begs for death could be taken figuratively. Either way, it's a fairly dark opening, and you've got to be aware that unless it's a comedy, if you have a really dark film, it's going to require you to be even more excellent in your writing. In any case, so that's the event. There is a clear event. The best friend is suicidal, and now the young reporter wants to act. And now we get to the most important part of the film, because this is going to represent the bulk of the story. The second act is the action, is the response to that event. And that's the goal for the main character. Here in the logline we read, takes a dramatic step to rewrite the story of his life. Now that sounds like it could make great drama. A dramatic step. It is drama. It's dramatic. To rewrite the story of his life. So it's big. It's going to be a major change for our character. However, this is completely useless for a logline. Why? Because it's vague. It's very vague. We don't know what this means. In every good story, the character takes a dramatic step to rewrite the story of their life. Otherwise, this was not a movie. So you need to be specific. How specific do you need to be? Well, you need to be as specific as you can within the word count limit. So if you have 25 words, then you need to use those 25 words to be specific. So you've been specific about the alcoholic, about the Hollywood star, about the reporter, but you need to be specific about as much as possible. What sort of movie is this going to be? What is that dramatic step? So we need to know that in order to understand what sort of story this is going to be. I hope that helps to rework this log line. And we're going to the next one. When a black high school football star mysteriously disappears, his 4 daring friends and their dog set out to find him, unraveling the dark secrets of their small town and a possible serial killer among the town's elite. Character: 4 daring friends and their dog. Event: a black high school football star disappears mysteriously. Action: to find him and unravel the dark secrets of the small town and a possible serial killer. Unravel the serial killer or find the serial killer. That part of the sentence is not very clear, and I suspect there's even a grammatical error. So I'll try and go one step further and give you an idea of whether this would work or not. First of all, characters. I always recommend, if you're a beginning screenwriter, stick to 1 character. So not 4. And the dog, why do you throw the dog in? Is that to make it lighter? Does that indicate that it's going to be a family film? If there's going to be dark secrets, does the dog offset that? So is the dog necessary? Do you need to mention that? Because usually dogs, they're not critical to the plot unless they're the hero. But yeah, if you talk about Wizard of Oz, you would mention all 4 characters on the side of. Would you mention Toto? I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll leave the dog in the middle and we go from the characters to the event. So the black high school football star disappears. That's good enough. That's a good start for any story. There have been many of them, but they work depending on obviously how you develop it. You need to be unique with all the other elements, and I'd say the constellation of characters in itself may be unique, but even better if you're specific about the central of those 4 daring friends, the central character. Finally, the action. So they're going to find the football star and unravel the dark secrets. That's another vague one. I'd leave it out. Mention the serial killer by all means, because that adds to the stakes, potential antagonist for the second half of the story. But the goal is obvious, to find this person against the odds. And you can be specific. The killer is definitely part of the odds. So not a bad log line. It goes there. I'd say focus on one of the characters specifically. The event is strong. The disappearance of a character often works. Then again, it is not hugely original, but that's fine. It has worked and it will work again, and that sort of movies will continue to be made. The action, I'd like to see a little bit more specific and leave out any vague mentions of dark secrets, because that, you read just too many times. All right, that's it for the log lines. I hope that helps you guys. And now we're going to those books and the order in which I recommend you read them. First, top of my pile again, Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. Why? Because it's very easy to read. It's fairly superficial, I dare say. It focuses primarily, but the strength is about the concept and character. And it gives you a simple introduction into the world of screenwriting and some techniques you may use. There's the beat sheet, the Blake Snyder beat sheet, the BSBS, or beat to the power of 2, S to the power of 2, something along those lines. You see, it's fairly catchy. It's a very catchy book, and for that reason, you'll probably read it fairly quickly. A little bit meatier is McKee's story, more philosophical, gives you a better idea of what it is to be a professional screenwriter, goes into more aspects of it, touches on more generally accepted areas of importance, such as structure and character and theme and so forth. Still a good read, not too technical, has been refined over the years, so maybe that's number 2. Number 3 on my list would be my favorite one, Paul Golino. It's the shortest in terms of theory, only 20 pages, but the most useful in terms of getting your stories right, because he focuses on dramatic tension and structure, and that's the heart of it all. Frank Daniels' approach. Remember that saying, stories are always about someone wanting something and having difficulty getting it. That was Frank Daniel. Golino builds on that. And I really, really appreciate that 8-sequence approach that he employs. And then the final book, a little bit tougher to read, a bit drier, bit bigger also, Chris Vogler's The Writer's Journey, which is Joseph Campbell's application of the hero's journey for screenwriters. That's the 4 books I would pick out of the long list if you are to do that introduction. But I'd say, why read all those books? You need to write. And maybe as questions arise during the writing, you could go and solidify your insights by reading these books, because nothing will retain and nothing is as valuable as what you learn for yourself. And that's why I recommend the screenwriting course that I launched a few years ago, and the link is down lower down this page, the immersion course, where you read scripts and you write a lot and you learn from doing that. You ask your own questions, you try to answer your own questions. And then you could look at these books because they will give you a different approach, a different angle to the same issues. Because ultimately, the more books you read about screenwriting, the more you will realize that everybody essentially says the same thing in different ways with different terms. One says catalyst, the other says inciting incident or call to adventure or opportunity. But ultimately, it's all the same thing. And it is up to you to realize that, because otherwise you will get confused. And the only way to find out is to do your own work. Watch movies, analyze them. Just watching is not enough. You need to rewatch them. I always say it's better to watch one successful movie 5 times, trying to understand how it works, than watching 5 movies for the first time. Okay, enough for today's rant. I'll be back with another video, another Logline review, and I'm going to answer the question, why should you go to film school? That's the one for next time. For now, thanks for listening and watching, and I hope you'll be there soon again. Don't forget to subscribe. If you liked the video, click the like button, and if you want to be notified of our next video, subscribe and then push that bell icon. That's the whole spiel. Thank you. See you later.